Okay, what exactly is going on right now in the FBI, Steve Friend?
Well, I think it's a combination of a historical misinterpretation of what the FBI actually stands for, and how it's evolved now from a law enforcement agency to a domestic intelligence agency, and finally, for how it's developed these metric systems, essentially setting quotas for itself to achieve. So to go back to my first point, I think everybody historically has looked at the FBI as an objective force for good and a constitutionally grounded organization. And I don't think that's true. I think its history in the 30s, 40s, and 50s was anti-communist, and everybody just perceived that to be pro-American. And that's not, in effect, true. It's really just maintaining the status quo. And as that status quo within our ruling elite has shifted further and further to the left, the FBI now stands as an apparatchik of that entrenched power. Now, take us into the mission creep that's happened since September 11th, and the FBI has evolved from counterterrorism from threats abroad to looking into the interior, as our military has been successful at eradicating the threats in the Middle East. The FBI has to justify its existence. It's a self-licking ice cream cone, and it has to look internally at the threats. And finally, within the last 10 years, this integrated program management that I was trying to highlight at the hearing a couple of weeks ago, where the FBI sets metrics for itself to achieve. And if you ask for anything in the government and attach dollars and cents to it, you will get more of it. And that's why they've seen some inflated statistics, and it's giving a misperception of a domestic terrorist threat in America that just frankly isn't true.
What is their objective with this?
Well, again, it's probably a combination of a couple things. I think there are some true believers, especially among the ruling class in Washington, D.C. Those folks, their entire careers are hell-bent on climbing every rung. And as you climb one rung, there's fewer and fewer slots available. So they tend to toe the party line and say what they have to say to please the uppers. And they have to always make that pilgrimage back to Washington, D.C., and you can't help but through osmosis become corrupted by the swamp. And then on top of that, there's a financial incentive. Beyond just the promoting and making more money because of your promotion, hitting quotas and hitting these metrics, they're attached to, there's bonuses attached to that. So being gold and hitting the check marks for a number of cases opens and arrests achieved and wiretaps initiated, there's 5-figure bonuses for senior executive service members. So it's a perverse incentive, and they push on the rank and file to achieve that because they want to pad their own pocketbooks.
Okay, so, but they have to have an end game here, right? So when you say, they're performing these duties at the behest of senior leadership, what is senior leadership's goal here? I mean, when I grew up, the FBI was an institution to protect our shores, to root out wrongdoing, to get rid of mafia people and evildoers and things of that nature. Now they're just going after people going to a school board meeting. So I mean, there's got to be there's got to be on the 4th floor, or whatever that floor is. There's got to be a goal in mind. Like, what is it that they want to achieve here? I mean, I get the incentives, I get the money. But those are all put in place by somebody on the 4th floor. So what's their end game? What do they want the outcome to be?
It's
communism? Total control? Stasi? What is it?
I think you hit it on the head in the last one. It's the 7th floor, and the nature of the FBI having shifted from law enforcement to domestic intelligence, I think when you look at a law enforcement investigation, it's very linear in its structure. There's a beginning and an initiation, an event that happens that has to be investigated. You do the investigation, and then it comes to a resolution, and whether or not that ends in a conviction of a criminal or not, that's up to the justice system. But as the FBI has evolved into an intelligence organization, those investigations are circular in nature. So you initiate an investigation to gain intelligence. What does that give you? More intelligence. And you gain more intelligence to gain more intelligence, and then you spin other investigations off of that never come to an end. And that's how you get these cases that go for decades on end, and there's really no resolution to them. And the FBI still is able to check boxes for itself and say that it's successful because it's able to initiate these investigations, gain this information on the American people. And back to my initial point where I'm arguing that the FBI in itself is sort of an aconstitutional organization. It's preserving the status quo by helping to tamp down the politically troublesome mindset that the powers that be are view, which is at this point in time is going to be conservative America, people who are pro Second Amendment, pro border sovereignty, pro life, pro traditional marriage. And that's why you end up with a radical traditional Catholic memo that's drafted in the Richmond field office that is targeting these parishes for infiltration and potential human source recruitment.